Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Dream Big interview series. My name is Rachel Petero, and I'm your host for the first of my Talent Trailblazers series. And my guest today, who I'm so delighted to be with me, is Maria van der Noordaa. How are you, Maria?
Hi, Rachel. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well here in sunny Qatar. And how is the weather in London? Because I know everyone loves to talk about the weather.
It's not that great today. It's actually raining, but I'm hoping for the spring to come very soon. Yeah. We've had a little bit, so I'm hoping it's just today.
I heard you had an amazing spring. I heard 23 degrees, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it will be back. I'm positive.
So let me just do a quick intro about Maria and why I invited Maria to be part of the Talent Trailblazers series. And Maria holds a role today with BT as a global head of Organisational Design and Development. Previous to that, I had the pleasure of working with Maria at Barclays in the retail banking side, and we were both in HR. And I was doing consulting role, and Maria was doing a lot of change management, a lot of organizational design. And then she went off on maternity leave, and I left London and came to start and carry on my business in Qatar. And what I really loved about Maria was her stamina and her resilience. And, you know, throughout her pregnancy, she worked right up to the end. She continued to deliver, and I thought, wow, you know, that is impressive. And always the best quality work was delivered by Maria. So when I put together the series, she was always one of my top 3 that I wanted to invite. So welcome, Maria.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the kind words.
It's my pleasure. So what was your, I suppose, your motivation for being part of the Dream Big interview series, Maria?
So I think when you asked me, I think my first reaction was, oh my God, I'm not clever enough, I'm not talented enough, and why would anyone hear me speak? And then I kind of started to reflect on the process you've been through since we met, and I actually started to reflect a little bit about myself as well, and where I've come from and where I am today. Because I guess when you are quite a driven person and you have a career and you keep driving, then sometimes you actually forget to reflect on what you have achieved. And so I believe the best leaders are the authentic ones that don't forget who they are inside. But that also means that sometimes you sit there and you kind of go, actually, it's quite a big role I have, and you forget that you've actually you've achieved a lot over the years. And I then reflected and thought, you know what? One thing is, I put the work in, I have the passion, I have the drive, and I have achieved some of my goals. But that also comes with a responsibility to give something back. I think there is a big responsibility is that, you know, you work and you deliver for your company, but that's not the only thing. You need to deliver back to the whole ecosystem. So I met lots of people throughout my career, and some of them has been integral in inspiring me, and either without knowing it, inspire me to take a certain direction or inspire me to make a choice. That's actually meant a lot. So I thought, let's just get over my fears, and let's try and start some of this. I'm going to call it giving back, because it's about, if you believe in it and you're passionate about it, you kind of need to talk about it for the world to start believing in it.
I completely agree with you, Maria, and that's so exactly what the Dream Big interview series is about.
So that was why, and don't underestimate, you know, it was very flattering to be asked, so, and that gives one confidence that actually maybe I have something to say that people want to listen to.
And you definitely do. And, you know, this is about a conversation, and the more conversations we can have, the more conversations we can share at a real authentic level is where the magic happens, I believe. So, you know, it's as simple as that. Let's have a conversation about the things that we're passionate about.
Yeah.
So let's just sort of rewind before we get into your exciting role at the moment, because I know you've got a lot of exciting stuff to tell us about. Where was your original passion and drive? You're obviously from Denmark.
Yeah.
Where was your original passion and desire and motivation to go into the role that you're in today? Where did that start?
So I actually did marketing and branding at uni. And I think that was the first time I kind of felt real passion for a business subject, because branding is really exciting. It's about connecting. It's actually about passion. It's about heart. It's about getting consumers to connect with something and therefore spend their money on it. So I think that was the very first time I had this is what I'm meant to do. That didn't turn out that way. I then finished university and we're out to have my first job, and I wanted to go into consulting, and I started in a consultancy which was called Sillerant Consulting back then. They're now called Hitachi Consulting, but they effectively they do Lean and Six Sigma, but they actually do change management. And I realized that, you know, change management, it's also about the heart. It's about connecting with people and figuring out what is it that's going to make you change. And I think that's been a theme throughout my career. It's about people. So I've built a lot of technical skills around my profile, but the people has always been called what I've been doing. And I kind of didn't just went on the path of staying in consulting. I became the org design guru. I was the one who always got the org design bit. And then I transferred into Barclays, which was actually my first industry role. And I think it just clicked. It was just right for me. You have these businesses with masses of people. And how do you actually get all of these people to move in the same direction and be engaged and deliver for the customer? And actually, it's a lot of tiny parts. The magic needs to happen at the same time at that point where they meet the customer. And effectively, that's what's been driving me all the time. And then I am quite structured and disciplined. And when you do organizational design, it is about having a structured, lean house where it's very clear who's doing what. Often very misunderstood. People think organizational design is, you know, a few boxes with a few lines between them on a piece of paper, but it's not. That's just a structure chart. It's actually about when you've drawn that up, when you talked about decision-making authority in each box, when you talked about accountabilities in each box, when you talked about career path. It's almost like you're knitting together all of the HR specialism into organizational design. That is when you kind of go, okay, so now I have the intervention design or the organization design on paper. Now we need to make it work. And it's about the people, because you can't just give people a new job and expect them to change the way they do things. You need to work with them. You need to change them. You need to help them do what you intended that they were supposed to do. And I think that's why I ended up here, because it has that organization design and development. For me, it plays to my two strengths, which is the very structured, analytical, I want things to be neat.
Yeah.
My brain. At the same time as it plays to my passion and my heart, because this is about people. It's about winning in business. It's about, you know, being the customer's preferred choice. So that's kind of how I ended up, a little bit by chance, but, you know, I think there's a lot of passion in it as well, and that's probably why it happened.
Yeah, and I hear you. I mean, organizational design and development is something that, you know, I have people who are in these roles like yourself, and, you know, you are gurus, I have all the respect for, because it is about knitting everything together. And, you know, that is why I connected with you, because I saw the technical side of what you did in your role, and it's not my specialism. But I also learned a lot from you and how you were able to, you know, bring all the pieces together. And I was like, wow, that's, you know, that's a skill.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But it's quite exciting to actually sit in a role like this, because it's borderline. I tend to say I'm not an HR professional, especially when I work with a business, because I think this is a role that just as well could sit with the strategy function or in the business, because you also need to understand the business. You need to have a lot of business acumen and understand, you know what, if you're reorging a sales function, you need to understand what is it that works in a sales function, what is the most important thing for a sales function, and you start to get the complexity of geography and different segments of customers, and you need to be interested in all of these things, because you can't just sit and go, you know what, I'm going to draw you a few boxes and then I'm going to help you with the HR side. You need to be on the business side as well. And I think that's why org design and development is so exciting, because you get a bit of everything.
Yeah, fantastic. And so that brings us into the current day. And you've got a lot of exciting projects going on around reorg. So tell us more about what's going on and the motivations of why it needs to be done.
Yeah, so I mean, BT is a massive organization. We have more than 100,000 employees, direct employees, across the globe. And then we have a very, very high number of agency and subcontractors. So there's always things going on. I joined BT because there was an exciting opportunity to split the retail business into two business units, BT Business and BT Consumer. BT Consumer had at that point just launched TV and Sport. As the first telecommunicator, they actually have TV production. So we own TV production, which is quite unusual.
Wow.
So that was why I joined, and that's been extremely exciting to go through that process and sit with the two CEOs and talk about how do you actually deliver your strategy? What is it that's important? Who needs to have what levers to behave in a certain way? So, where do you put the P&L accountability? Where do you put the commercial accountability? Because actually that does drive how the organization, the ecosystem functions.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of why I ended up there. And we then had a period where we have had what I call incremental change. So small things, but I've also learned that I believe that the new change is the small incremental change, because that's where you really get people on board. So we know it with the Fitbits, we all have them. It's actually, it's not about the crash diets, it's about doing the right thing every day and just checking in, short interval control. Have I done 10K today? I think organizations will see the same, that rolling out the big change program, it's almost like doing to people. So how to get into a cycle where it's just a part of the DNA. And we probably need to remind them that we are changing. But so I find that really exciting. So that's kind of where we are now. We set ourselves some very stretchy target as an organization 2 years ago about becoming what we call a 7x9 organization, because we wanted to simplify the organization with regards to the layers. And we wanted to empower people. So we were talking about some span targets. And we're almost there. We delivered on the layers. We are still having a tiny bit to go on the empowerment. But on a month-by-month basis, when I see the data, I kind of go, oh, we plateaued. But actually, when I then look back, we've made a massive leap forward. So that's where we are. And that's great, and that's really interesting. But the world never stands still. So there are some big projects on the horizon. So it's out in the public domain that BT is looking to acquire a mobile operator, and nobody knows exactly how that's going to look, but what the decisions around operating model will be. But there's no doubt that from an org design and development perspective, I'm quite excited, because when that happens, there will be a fantastic piece of work that probably would come my way. And I'm really excited about that, because that's not just going to be about structures. It's also going to be about integrating a new culture, and how do you take the best of that culture and integrate it and harvest on that in our current organization. And how do you motivate talent in that organization and make them grow in BT. So it is quite exciting, but also a massive piece of work that I must admit that sometimes it scares me a little bit, but I also believe that I'm probably the person who needs to be a little bit scared in order to actually deliver the absolute best. So I'm comfortable is not where I operate the best. You need to push me out. So yeah, that's really exciting. So that's where we.
Good. So that whole piece of work, that's going to give you, I suppose, the challenge that you're always looking for in your professional career. On a personal level, Maria, where do you see yourself today? What's different about Maria today than, say, 5 years ago? What have you seen about yourself in dreaming big, achieving your goals, and now reflecting back, as you said at the beginning?
I probably 5 years ago had what I would call a very old-fashioned mindset. I had a mindset that we were different people, that there was Maria at work, there was Maria at home, there was Maria in Denmark, and I had all of these different almost like characters that I was supposed to be and live up to. And actually this whole Dream Big series has helped me kind of reflect on it. I think as I've grown older, become more confident that I actually have something special or something unique. I think it's the passion that knits it all together, because I think I've said this before, what I do for BT, I would do, if I didn't work for BT, I would just do it for myself, or I would do it for another organization. So my core is my passion around this. And I've started to write a little bit on LinkedIn. I've started to think about what's my 10-year plan. And what I realized is that the professional Maria and the private Maria has started to become one person. So I think that's different. And that's quite powerful, because when you get to that realization that there is not two people, it's one, and that's truly my passion, I think that's where you also get some maybe some peace, maturity. So yeah, that's different.
Good. And you've also had, you've had your daughter, so that I can imagine plays into all of that.
I think it plays into it because it forces you to prioritize. Time is a scarce resource. So you need to think about where you spend your time, and it's there's two things to it. You need to figure out where you get energy, because having small children, they're very, very cute, but it's energy consuming. So you need to figure out what is giving you energy, and this work gives me energy. So it's almost like this fills me up, but it also has having our daughter has also forced me to be really, really hardcore in prioritizing my time and only dealing with the things that is important and is going to make a difference. So I get really frustrated at work when I spend my time on things I don't think is making a difference, or it's just bureaucracy, or I'm always going, I need to understand why I'm doing this, because I can't see the path to how this is value adding. I'm probably quite annoying sometimes. So I think that's also made a difference. And also I want to bring her up and show her that I work, because I had thought about giving up work, but it's an important part to be female and be independent and chose to be where you are because it's your choice, not because you have to.
And I know you have a very clear view on what is talent. So give us your view on what you believe talent is.
So talent for me is, I don't think you're born with talent. I think there are things you are probably better at than others. But I think talent, like the definition of talent, the way we actually interpret talent, you can build that up by hard work and by passion. And I think passion is key, because if you have the passion to get out of bed in the morning and spend 12 hours, 10 hours, whatever it is, or just work really hard at it, that's where you become talent. You become the specialist in an area, or you become the best in a field. So for me, that is talent. And I'd rather hire somebody who just came to an interview and, you know, burned through and talked to me about all the great thing you could do with this area, or the great thing that they were thinking about, than somebody who came and said, oh, by the way, I delivered all of these things, and was a little bit like, yeah, it's fine, I'll do it from 8 to 5 and that's it. So for me, it's about passion, because it's about the heart. And I believe when you have your heart in it, and we know that with family, we'll do anything for family because it's about the heart. So I think there's something about passion and heart. When you have that in it, don't underestimate what people can do. And look at you, Rachel, what you've achieved. That's passion. So you are a living example of it.
Yeah, and it is, you know, all those words resonate with me, because it doesn't matter, you know, it could be till 1 o'clock in the morning that I've got to get something ready for a workshop, or think something around, you know, I don't know, coaching, for example. And, you know, I could do it all day, every day, and, you know, have a couple of hours sleep and get up in the morning like nothing, because it comes from the heart. Yeah. And when you're aligned to your values as well, is for me very key. So, you know, I need my role to give me freedom. Yeah, I need to have connection with my family, very important, and I need it to somehow be ethical. Yeah, so ethics is very important to me. So, you know, I hear you, Maria, and that's what I love about you. You know, you call it out. You know what you are willing to compromise and what you're not. And, you know, your whole comment around adding value, you know, is this adding value? What are we wasting our time doing? And in talent roles, we do need to ask and challenge and ask those questions. So I love that.
And I actually think what you just said is that, you know, I think values is going to be even more important in the future world. I think we're going to see that the traditional way to talent cooperation have had, that's just going to disappear, because corporations needs to be smarter around how they treat individuals, because it's so easy in today's world to make another choice than being a part of a big corporation. So talent management, I do hate that word. But the way we treat talent, I think we need to be more individual, and I think we need to be more authentic, and think more about, actually, for people to choose our corporation, there needs to be a value match, because the passion is going to be the key, and you only have passion when the values are matching. Yep. And also because talent is, traditional talent management is very linked to the hierarchical view of the organization. As an organizational design specialist, I do go to conferences and look to what's the future of organizational design. And there's a lot of thought about, you know, the old-fashioned hierarchical view, that's going to disappear. The network is going to win. The teams are going to win. It's not going to be the CEOs. It's going to be the teams, and it's going to be about managing the teams. And that's about the values. So you can have a really high-performing team, and that's probably because you have the value match between the team leader and the team. Yep. And we just need to figure out how we scale that up into the whole of the organization. And we then need to treat people as individuals, because they have so many other choices. I mean, they can start for themselves. They can, you know, develop an app and become millionaires doing that. So how do we make people want to work for the big corporations in the future? And I think that's one fit one and not one fit all. Yeah. And also in the talent conversation.
And how do you get people to choose you, you know, versus, you know, I have to go there every day. No, I choose to work for BT, or I choose to work for spark, please, because
Yeah.
there is that value match, and I do feel valued.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the important thing. So, yeah, so I think we're going to see a big shift in HR over the next 10 years. I think HR professionals need to step it up, because traditional HR is gonna, if the value that is adding from HR is not changing, then I don't see HR playing a big role in the future. So how do we as HR professionals change the conversation to actually being the one on the front foot who can advise the business on how they need to think about whether it's talent or succession or what it is. So I think that's important.
Great. And thank you for those, those insights, because the world is changing, whether we like it or not. And so this series is about changing the conversation. Yeah, as HR, and I'm a bit like you. Sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not HR. I'm just doing my specialist role in talent. Thank you very much. So I do understand it. I believe that HR need to be in the business more and more. They need to be business savvy. They need to have more commercial acumen, and that's when the magic will happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it needs to be the trusted advisor, as stupid as it sounds, but that's where you're truly adding value.
Yeah, right. So we're coming to the end. So I wanted to wrap up with, what are your dream big goals for 2015 and beyond?
So the big, it's not a big goal, but the big dream goal for 2015 is to push myself out to give something back. I've always had a little bit of a desire to actually go into universities and lecture on organizational design and development, because I do want to change the conversation. I do want to help people get an understanding of this, because I think this is extremely powerful in an organization. So that's something I've kind of started. I mentioned before, I've started to write a little bit, and then what my 15 goal is also about is about how do I set myself up for my 10-year goal. So what are the building blocks that needs to be put in place now in order to be where I want to be in 10 years? Because I probably don't see myself in a big corporation in 10 years' time. I'm hoping that I have so much experience that I can actually go out on an independent basis. But what is it that I need to do now to actually kind of set out the path to get there? And that's quite exciting, because it's where the personal me and the work me and everything starts to flow together. And it's about the holistic view of my life, because it's also about what kind of mother do I want to be, what kind of daughter do I want to be, what kind of wife do I want to be, and how do I get my work life, my passion, and all of the values that I have, how do I get this to become one thing that works for everyone? So that's the big thing. So some very tactical things, and also some bigger some thoughts.
Great. So we are at the end of our Dream Big interview, and it's been delightful. It's been inspiring. And if people want to get in touch with you, Maria, I know you're on LinkedIn, so they can come on and look you up on Maria van der Noordaa. And also, obviously, I've got your bio, so I'll make sure to include the link to LinkedIn for our listeners. And I would just like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for, agreeing and saying yes, and really sharing everything that I knew that you would hopefully share, from your heart as well. I could hear that, and that's what it's about. It's about engaging and having that conversation. So thank you, Maria.
Thank you. It's been great.
Excellent. But we'll be seeing each other soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye, Rachel.
Bye.